Coming up.
In the lack of defense from your foundation to the allegations that are made, aside from what's happening here in a statement that went out.
You're relying upon previous testimony, sir. That does not give you a pass. That is not proper governance.
You would have heard of, obviously, the allegations around the foundation, Chinese police stations here operating. You would have heard all of these things. And so your foundation, sir, has been dragged into that world.
This is your wake-up call.
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Sir.
Mr. Johnson, given your past history with the Trudeau family, is it safe to say that you would have grown up with, or the children would have grown up around you at some capacity?
They would have encountered me.
How long have you known the Prime Minister for?
The current Prime Minister?
Correct.
Since about 1980.
Did you have any conversations with the Prime Minister during your time as the chair of the board regarding the foundation after he was elected Prime Minister?
No, none.
Mr. Rosenberg, in his term of president, did he bring forward any concerns regarding the donation to the board?
Not.
2016, recall, there was some negative press.
Yes, and that's just what I'm thinking of. I'm sorry. I'm there, at that point, negative press was brought before the board.
And what was your response as chair of the board?
I wasn't chair then,
okay.
But I was a director at that time, and we had no, and frankly, I'm not sure whether that was actually brought before the board or whether it was before. No, it must have been before the board. It must have been before the board that we had that presentation.
And what did the board do about it?
Informed about it. I don't recall anything specific other than reviewing what was being said, what was being said to the media about it.
So you did nothing in response, you just reviewed. During Pascal Fournier's term as president and CEO, did she bring forward any concerns regarding the donation to the board?
Not before, to my recollection, not before the newspaper article, the February 28th.
And you categorically deny all the allegations put forward in the Globe and Mail article?
I'm in no position to do that. All I can say is the allegation, if I could take it specific by a specific, but I can say that we did not receive, we were never offered, to the best of my knowledge, $1 million.
I'm talking about specifically foreign interference.
But, I'm unaware of any foreign interference.
Would you consider an article of that nature on a national platform to be defamatory?
Arguably.
I mean, you're here before the Ethics Committee because of it.
Unfair, I would say, at least. Unfair.
And you are a lawyer by training, correct?
Correct.
So how do you respond to that legally? Did you ask for a retraction?
No.
Why not?
I can't say. I can't. The idea of asking a retraction, frankly, never crossed my mind.
But if I'm chairing a foundation bearing the name of the former Prime Minister, while the current Prime Minister's son is the Prime Minister, and his brother's on the board, and these allegations drop, and I'll give you some grace, because I don't know, I've never read a CSIS report. I don't know any of it to be true, quite frankly. And when I read it on the face value of it, I give you the courtesy and the grace to say, we don't know if it's true, and yet I am shocked in the lack of defense from your foundation to the allegations that are made, aside from what's happening here in a statement that went out.
Well, it's it is out there now that at no time were we approached by a Chinese donor offering us $1 million.
No, but it was $200,000, and the donor was Zhang Beng. And in testimony just previously, you couldn't confirm whether you knew who the donor was. Can you not see how that's a problem? Sir, you are a very intelligent man. You're learned. You have a tremendous history. You've been on this board for quite some time. And yet, in your preparation for the seriousness of today's committee, you couldn't reference who the donor was. Do you not see that as a problem?
I'm the chair of the board, and I cannot be, and must not be involved in every detail.
But you have a fiduciary duty as chair of the board.
Right.
That's why you have errors and omissions insurance, to ensure that you're not put in a legal, like you're a lawyer. So I can't accept on face value that you wouldn't see why this would be a problem.
I believe I can rely on assurances from others more closely involved as to what has been done and whether or not what has been done is proper.
But what your job is to respond to it. So Ms. Fournier brings allegations. The last question I have to you, the concerns that she has purported to this committee, that she brought to you directly at the board meeting, what was your course of action after that?
Very quick response, please.
Very much to do our best to establish an independent outside review of the entire matter and all the circumstances around it.
That hasn't begun yet.
No, it would have been, I would
Johnson,
say it's
Mr.
well
Green, I've
underway
got to
by
stay
now.
on time here.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your attendance, Mr. Johnson. I understand that you bring to your testimony today a significant history in the political field, the legal field, and the governance field, as well as a significant period of time on the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. I'm actually shocked, unbelievably shocked, that you came before this committee. You've indicated in previous statements that you wanted an opportunity to correct some of the factual discrepancies in Ms. Fournier's statement. You wanted an opportunity to rebut many of those statements. I'm really gobsmacked, sir, that you were unable to answer basic questions with respect to the refund of this donation. You are the chairman of this particular organization managing $125 million in taxpayer-funded money. You had to have known that one of the questions put to you, sir, would have been in relation to the donation and the refund. So I want to just go at those questions and that line a little bit more into detail. You are unable to tell me because you were not responsible for issuing the check to return to a particular donor of the $140 million. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you will undertake to tell this committee who in fact did at the foundation. Is that correct? You
yes.
undertake to do that?
I can undertake to do exactly that.
Okay, and you will further undertake to tell us who exactly the refund was issued to. Okay? And you will also tell us, sir, how that donation was transferred to the donor, whether by electronic transfer, whether by issuing a check from the foundation, or in some other capacity. All understood?
I believe so.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about the actual receipts that were given by the foundation itself when the money actually came in. You must be aware, sir, that there was an issue amongst the members as well as board members with respect to the discrepancies as it relates to those receipts. You agree?
Not sure that there was an issue. There was a concern raised by Dr. Fournier about whether or not the receipts had been properly issued. And subsequently, we heard the testimony of Mr. Rosenberg, who was involved very much at the time.
Sure. I'll cut to the chase. Two receipts were prepared by the foundation. The first installment of $70,000 in 2017, the second installment in 2018 for $70,000, presumably coming from the same donor, the same source, yet two receipts from the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation, completely different. One was sent to a corporation with an address in Hong Kong that subsequently was directed by the Chinese government to resend that to Beijing, and the second receipt sent to a shell corporation, the Millennium Group, in Dorval, Quebec. You must be aware of that, sir, as the chairman of the board.
My understanding, from what I've heard in the testimony, previous testimony, and what I'm informed, is that both receipts went to the donor.
Well, you don't know that, do you, sir?
No.
You're basing it. So I'm asking again, what preparation, sir, did you do to prepare for your testimony today?
I discussed a broad range of things. I reviewed a broad range of things, but I'm chair of the board, and my involvement in day-to-day detail is quite minimal.
Okay, but sir, you're the chairman of the board. You came here because you wanted to clear the air and correct the factual inaccuracies from Dr. Fournier. This is your opportunity, and I'm sorry, sir, you don't have the opportunity to say, I don't know, I didn't look into it. You're relying upon previous testimony, sir. That does not give you a pass. That is not proper governance.
Mr. Brock?
It's my ability.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Green, bring us home.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, you would agree that the foundation's purpose in perpetuity is to preserve the legacy of Pierre Elliott Trudeau?
Inter alia, yes.
And you would agree that this situation, this scenario, has cast negative aspersions on the foundation, perhaps justly or unjustifiably?
Utterly unjustifiably, yes.
Okay. And in the terms of the governance of the board, we've heard you meet twice a year, you're not fully briefed. Would it be fair to say that it's kind of a bit of a rubber stamp board and the management really?
Not in the least. And by the way, on my watch, we've increased our meetings. I was talking about what it was like back then. On my watch, we've increased the number of meetings.
To how many a year?
And to 3 a year. And our meetings are far longer than the 3 hours that they used to be. We do
the
a
April
lot.
14th Auditor General request, is the Auditor General partaking on a forensic investigation into the foundation?
Regrettably, she is not.
Okay.
She has informed me that she would not.
She would not. You would have heard likely the discourse around the table around Chinese foreign interference. You would have heard of the prima facie parliamentary privilege of Mr. Michael Chong, MP Michael Chong. You would have heard of, obviously, the allegations around the foundation, Chinese police stations here operating. You would have heard all of these things. And so your foundation, sir, has been dragged into that world of allegations around Chinese foreign interference. As the chair, you have a duty to help preserve the legacy of the foundation. Would you agree that one of the ways to best provide the most amount of clarity around this, because we've now sat through many witnesses and I'm not sure we have clarity, would be to be included in a public inquiry should David Johnson, at the end of his special rapporteur position, present that? Would that be something that you think would be helpful in clearing the name of the foundation in a very clear and unequivocal way?
I don't think that would be necessary in order to clear the name of the foundation. I think that
Do you believe you've done so here today?
I'm sorry?
Do you believe that you've done here so today?
I've done my best, but I'm answering pretty narrow questions.
Sure.
And but I'm
for which you don't have the answers for?
Well, some I've done, as I say, I've done my best.
Sure.
But they not. I can't tell you what I don't know.
But if there's a public inquiry, you would cooperate with it?
Of course.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, thank you. That concludes our round of questioning.